Hello, and welcome to Hope University's online version of our Saving Money workshop. For most of us, it seems like there's never quite enough money to go from paycheck to paycheck. So today we're going to look at some ways that we can stretch our dollar further and ultimately free up some cash and try to make our life a little more comfortable, maybe be able to work more toward our purpose that we talk about in our Managing Your Money workshop. So these ways that we're going to talk about are groceries, and that makes up about half of our discussion right there. And then the other half we'll talk about utilities, transportation, entertainment, and clothing. Some techniques that we're going to talk about are making a list, how to avoid impulse purchases, because again, like we talk about in our Managing Your Money workshop, so much of these financial issues revolve around really psychological and emotional responses that we have. Also, we'll talk about how to know when you're getting a deal, not just trusting advertisers or stores themselves to inform us when something is a deal. We'll talk about how to do research that can help us save money, and connected to that, of course, the old standby using coupons. Really, the first step to any successful shopping trip, a money-saving shopping trip, is to plan ahead of time. Make a list and stick to that list as best you're able, even if you're just going in to grab a few items. What makes this so important? Well, note this statistic listed on this slide. Research has shown about 60 to 70% of what ends up in our carts are unplanned purchases. So that's a lot of extra items that cost you money that you didn't originally plan on spending, some of which you might even regret once you get home. Now next, you'll want to do a quick inventory. Go through your fridge, your cabinets, your pantry, wherever, and make sure you don't already have some of the items that might be on your list. Well, now you're ready to start putting your list together. You may want to do that by categories, maybe organized in the same way that the aisles are in the store, or organizing it by store if you're going to be visiting several. Another good idea is to list something that you will crave, especially if you're bringing kids. List something, too, that they're going to crave. So when you get to the store, you see all these tempting potential impulse buys, you can remind yourself that you're already getting something for you and the kids that will satisfy your munchies, so it'll help you really stick to the list. But the main thing is sticking to the list. It's the most important part. If you've done all these other steps, you'll have everything that you actually need, and really there will be no need to purchase other things, no matter how tempting they look or how much of a deal they appear to be. Another important expert tip is to not get caught in the maze unnecessarily. And what is the maze that we're talking about? Well, you've probably been in the store, maybe dashed in at some point just to grab a few things, and by the time you get to the checkout counter, you're shocked at what the amount totals to. You wonder, well, what happened? Many times it's that we got sidetracked while we were in there in the maze. Grocery store owners know, again, the longer they keep you in or the more area they have you cover just to get the few items that you need, that they've created this giant museum of oddities and wonders to keep you looking at all these things, many of which are impulse buys that you might give into. So if you're going in to grab a few staples, stick to the outer rim, which is usually where the staples are. Stick to just those purchases and avoid the center aisles. Many times you'll be better off. So what is it that makes it such a challenge to avoid impulse purchases today? Well, taking a look at a little history can help us see why this has become such a problem. Did you know that the average number of items carried in a supermarket in 1970 was about 7,800, which may seem like quite a few, but as of 2010, stores today carry well over 38,000 different items to vie for our attention. So with that many interesting things to pass by in the grocery store to capture our attention, it's pretty easy to dip into our pocketbook and make impulse purchases. And grocery stores know that while you're in line waiting to pay for your goods, they have a captive audience, and they use that to their advantage. So one of the best ways to avoid impulse purchases is to get in and out as fast as possible. One thing that can help you to do that, of course, is to shop off of peak hours so that you can get through the line more quickly. Also, you may choose to shop alone if possible, not bringing the children or others who may distract you or make you more inclined to buy impulse items. Of course, an age-old standard is to eat before you go shopping so that you're more satiated, you feel full, and you'll be less inclined to want to purchase everything that looks tasty and good. And of course, stick to your list. Now, another very important thing that you can do and can be more helpful than you might realize if you've never done it before is to bring and use a calculator with you to keep track of what you're spending as you continue through the store and as you put things in your cart. This creates what's sometimes called buyer friction. You type in the amount of each item as you put it in the cart, and this buyer friction kind of slows down what is normally a pretty easy process because you realize everything you put in the cart is costing you money. It can also be very handy too when you get to the checkout counter because you'll know what to expect. And if there seems to be a large discrepancy, you can address it with the cashier. Sometimes there's an error in the computer or in some other way they've made a mistake because they're certainly very busy. And you can address that right there because you've added it up on the calculator yourself. Another important thing is to avoid convenience foods wherever possible. Stores are designed to help you part with your money, and they'll often place those convenience foods around the perimeter, maybe on the ends of the aisles. They're things that are very easy usually to throw in the microwave or pull out of the package and eat, but usually not a lot of nutritional benefit, and they're more pricey than things that you would make for yourself. The deli, too, has plenty of things to draw us in. Fresh baked bread, prepared dinners, whatever it might be. Usually, again, we're going to pay more for the convenience of having it made for us. So stick to your list, stick to your meal plan. So using a calculator obviously is a great way to know when you're getting a good deal. But did you know that almost all stores now have right on the price tag a number that will tell you what is the best deal? It's true. It's something called unit pricing. And if this is not something that you've paid attention to in the past, from this day forward, believe me, you'll always be looking for it. Unit pricing can help you decide what brand to buy or even what size package offers you the best value. Store brands and little-known brands often cost much less than well-known national brands. And the way the lower-price brands look may really be the only difference. Sometimes also we've become programmed to think that the larger container or the larger box means a better deal. But is that always true? We're going to look at an actual example here from a store in town and find out if that's the case. So here you see the price tags for the two different boxes of cereal that you were just looking at. You can almost always find these tags just below the product in question on the edge of the shelf. Now with these two boxes, how do we know which one is the better deal? Well, you'll see here, right under the name of the product, is the weight or volume of the product. Now, someone who's good at math or has a calculator can pretty quickly figure out which is the better deal just from that. But the tag can make it even easier than that. Down here on the lower left-hand side, you see some numbers, and these make up the unit price. So the right-hand number is the cost, and the left-hand number is the amount per unit, in this case, per pound. So the box on the left weighs about 14 ounces, and the box on the right weighs 18 ounces. This is reflected in the unit price that you see here by showing that the box on the left is $2.16 per pound, while the box on the right is $3.76 per pound. So if all this seems kind of confusing, just to make it simple, the best thing to do is to look for that unit price and pick whichever product has the lowest unit price. Especially in products that are pretty comparable as far as quality, focus on unit price. So in other parts of the store, you might find that the tag says dollars per ounce or kilogram, or it may be measured by volume or by weight. But in most cases, If the product is similar, like say 2 bottles of juice or 2 cases of soda, the unit price will be comparing the same units. And this is where we find that the biggest package is not always the most cost effective. Stores know that consumers are trying to save money, and so they often think of that by buying in bulk. So stores kind of mix this up. Sometimes the bulk item is cheaper, and sometimes it's simply more expensive. The only way to make sure is by looking at this unit pricing. So some stores list the unit price right on the label below the selling price for that item, like we've seen here, and that makes it easy for us. But even if they don't provide that unit price, we can still make sure which is cheaper by using a calculator and doing the math to come up with the unit price ourselves. A brief word of caution on this: beware the lure of the brightly colored sale tag. When you see that in the store, it's easy to be drawn in and think, oh, I should buy this item, it's on sale, but it's not guaranteeing you a good price. And here is a perfect example. This is one that I took from a store recently. And right at eye level was this jar of Orville Redenbacher popcorn. And look, it's on sale with this big orange tag, 30 cents off. But way down and off to the side on the bottom shelf is the store brand bag of popcorn. It's not on sale, but can you see, just looking at those two, the vast difference in price? One is a 30-ounce jar. The other is a 2-pound bag. And there are about 16 ounces in a pound, so these are both approximately the same amount. But by just looking at the unit price, we can see a huge difference. The name brand costs over 3 times as much per pound. So think about it. Are we really going to taste a difference once it's smothered in butter? Probably not. So clearly, paying attention to unit price can save us a lot of money in the long run. How, though, can you know when you're really getting a deal? When is a sale really a sale? Well, the first one we're going to talk about really is the best, and that is things that the stores consider loss leaders. And what is a loss leader? Well, these are usually super discounted items that stores sell at below their cost, and they do this just to get you into the store. Maybe you've seen this at stores around town. Maybe they have a coupon, maybe something like 9 cents for a carton of eggs or something like that. And this is a good sale to jump on because it can mean you save quite a bit of money. Just remember, the store's purpose in dropping that price is to draw you in to spend more money. So again, it's important to stick to your list. But what does a store mean when they say an item is on sale? Well, generally, these are products that most people think of when the word sale is talked about, and they're discounted at maybe 10% or more off their normal retail price. A straight sale item is still not necessarily your best deal. Oftentimes, if you look around a little bit in the store, compare the unit pricing, you'll find that there are other items on the shelves that will save you even more money. Another sale term is called the phantom sale, and these can be items that the store marks as a savings or as a best price, but in reality, if you were to compare from week to week, there really is no real savings. So you'll find these often on the ends of aisles or in displays that clutter up the walkways where they're just trying to move merchandise. Research that was conducted by grocery stores in shopper behavior shows that anytime people see numbers in a sign, they're likely to buy at least 30% more than they may have purchased otherwise. So things like the age-old buy one, get one free. Often the full price of one could be raised high enough to offset the free one. So pay close attention. Examine, is the deal really worth the cost before purchasing one to get one free? Another one that works well for stores is X number of items for this price, maybe 4 items for $10. But remember, you rarely have to buy all 4 to get the sale price unless it's specifically stated in the advertisement or on the label. So break it down to its simplest form. Is it 1 for $2.50? And then ask yourself, how many do I really need? Another one is when they put a limit on an item, usually on a coupon or it can be on the sale label in the store. It's very effective for getting people to purchase more than they need. It's kind of the Tom Sawyer method of convincing people, well, you can only have this much. So putting a limit on shoppers often gets them to buy right up to that limit because they think, well, maybe this is a loss leader and I want to get the most out of this deal. Now, the experts warn shoppers to examine the ends of aisles. Often special deals, discounts, and refund offers are displayed at the ends of the aisles, but be warned, they're not always bargains. Sometimes, like we said before, the items are slow movers that the store hasn't been able to sell, or maybe items that expire quickly and just need to be moved off the shelves. So compare the price with other things in the store first. Another great way to save money is to stop buying name brands when you don't need to and give the store brands a try. Obviously, many times they're much cheaper, and many national manufacturers also produce the private label or store brand products for the major grocery chains. So it may even be that you're getting the very same product, just in a different package. According to Consumer Reports, in a recent taste study of about 29 different products, the store and national brands tasted about the same, about equally good 19 out of the 29 times. And 4 times the store brand won, and only 6 times did the national brand win. And what's more, the store brand foods that were tested cost an average of about 27% less than the big name counterparts. So Consumer Reports concluded that switching to store brands can be a pretty painless way to cut your grocery bill. So what kind of preparation do you like to do before you go shopping? I ask this question because an important part of saving money when you shop is doing your research before you ever get to the store. So of course there are advertisements to be found in the newspaper, the weekly flyers that can help you plan your meals for the next week and shop in accord with that plan so you can stick with your list. But another great resource is the internet. Of course, you can look online for great deals in your area, maybe print out coupons. But did you know also that the store's flyers are available on the internet? It's as easy as Googling the name of your favorite store and maybe putting in your zip code and getting the flyer for your area. So all the specials, the sales, the promotions, they're all listed right there in one place, and sometimes you can use that to make your shopping list. And then, of course, there is networking. When you find a good deal, let your friends know about it, and likely they'll return the favor. Now let's focus in for a moment on this thought of using coupons to maximize savings. The experts say that clipping coupons is the single best way to save on groceries, but finding and clipping them can sometimes seem like a chore. So diversify and simplify. First of all, diversify where you get them. For many people, the Sunday paper is a must, and there are many coupons to be found there. And for others, they really like printing out online coupons. Just make sure your store accepts them. A couple other good places online are coupons.com and smartsource.com, and then, of course, the manufacturer's websites. Also, check the supermarket circular for special store coupons. It is important to know the different types of coupons. There's primarily 2. The first is the manufacturer's coupon, which simply can be used at any store and can sometimes even be combined with in-store sales to make an even bigger savings for you. And then there is the store coupon, a coupon that is specific to the store that's offering it. And this is usually the case. I say usually because, remember, some stores do accept their competitors' coupons if you just ask. But coupons really are only useful if they get used. So how can you make sure that you use yours? Well, it's important, again, to simplify. Come up with a good way to organize your coupons so that you'll make sure to have them with you when you need them and be able to use them. An envelope where they're simply organized by expiration date can be a good way to do that. Or they can be organized by food category or store that they're from. Whatever you choose to do, just make sure that it's a way that will work for you. Now, too, if you shop at Safeway and you use a Safeway card, you can actually go online and download their coupons directly to your card so that when you make purchases, you won't have to haul all those coupons around with you. Now for some quick and cheap food tips. Several of these tips that we're going to talk about are ones that we received from students like yourselves. So if you have one that's not listed here, don't hesitate to contact us or simply email me at hopeuniversity@hopesource.us. The first one is to buy in bulk. And if this is something that you like to do, maybe using the bulk bins at the grocery store, be aware of the expiration of certain items. For instance, white rice. Now that's something that can last up to 5 years on the shelf. But did you know that brown rice can expire after only 6 months? And this is because of the fermentation caused by the oil that it contains. So be informed about what it is you're purchasing. Make sure it's not something that can spoil. If you're a meat eater, you can doctor up cheaper cuts of meat. One simple way to do this is to marinate them overnight, or you can cook them in a slow cooker. If you like ground beef and don't like to pay for the leaner ground beef, you can make it more lean by simply straining out a lot of the oil and even rinsing the oil off with hot water. You can bulk up burger with some extra beans and rice. This makes it a more complete protein anyway and contributes to the nutrition. Frozen produce is something many people think of as second rate, but the flash freezing process in packaging frozen produce actually locks fruits and vegetables in a relatively nutrient-rich state. So it can be a good investment. Usually it's much cheaper, still contains most of the same nutrients, and you don't need to wash, peel, or chop. There are some common food items, too, that you can make at home for less than half the price of buying them in the store. Not all things, because so many things are mass-produced and they're harder to make yourself as cheap as you can buy them in the store. But there are some things that I've researched that you certainly can save money on. Bread is one of them. Hummus can be made at home for much less. Granola, dressings, guacamole, croutons, all of these are things that you can make for yourself for pennies in comparison to what you would pay in the store. Now, for those worried about their waistline as well as their pocketbook, you might consider becoming what's called a flexitarian. Unlike a vegetarian, a flexitarian does eat meat sometimes, but doesn't always feel they have to have meat at every meal. Beans are considered to be one of the best sources of protein on the planet. And unlike meat, beans are high in fiber and water content, and they digest more slowly, so they cause an individual to feel more satiated, to feel fuller, longer. Also, beans are higher in antioxidants, which is a class of phytochemicals that incapacitate cell-damaging free radicals in the body. So, to make a long story short, they can help fight cancer. So you might think of using meat as a condiment. A little bit of animal protein with beans can contribute flavor to your meals while still being easier on your body and definitely on your budget. As an example of that, 1.5 cups of beans costs about 25 cents and gives you about 20 grams of protein and almost 30 grams of fiber, whereas 1/4 pound of ground beef contains about the same amount of protein with no fiber, higher fat content, and it costs a lot more. So very easily you can see how becoming a flexitarian could save you some money. Another area to beware of is entertainment. In other words, always thinking that entertainment needs to involve eating out. So the experts say you could plan outings, not just eating. So going out and yet bringing a healthy snack while you do so. And keeping healthy snacks and water on hand so that you don't have to give in to buying things that are expensive and not as nutritious. And consider growing your own fruits and vegetables. If you have space at your home to have a backyard garden, that's an excellent way to save some money on your produce bill, or maybe you can even utilize the community gardens. So again, if there are any tips that you have that you feel should be mentioned in this segment, feel free to contact us at HopeSource or contact me through email at hopeuniversity@hopesource.us. But saving money on your monthly utilities is another easy way to make your dollar go further. Saving that money involves really two main areas of focus: fixing any structural issues, which means making changes to the home itself, and changing the behaviors of the people in the home, which may mean really changing our own behaviors. That's what we're going to talk about in Section 2 of Saving Money. Welcome to Part 2 of Hope University's Saving Money online workshop. We're now going to talk about utilities, transportation, entertainment, and clothing. And we'll start off talking about utilities by addressing structural issues, things with our home that can really save us a lot of money if we address these areas. Saving money on the structure involves making changes to the interior or exterior of the house that can result in savings on your utility bill. So a big one, of course, is to do all that you can to keep heat from escaping your house. Look for areas that are open to the outside, like vents, doors, windows, dryer vents. Even the plug-ins in the house can be areas where if you put your hand there, you feel cold air coming in. This is an area that needs to be sealed up. So by closing up or sealing these gaps to the outside, you can keep your house warmer and spend less money on heat. Door thresholds, for instance, sometimes have little screws on their surface, and by tightening those, you can raise the height of the threshold to close up the gap. Vinyl windows may have gaps along their edges or underneath the windowsills that allow air to escape. So these can be quickly sealed with caulk or silicone. Turning down your water heater by 10 degrees or so can apparently save you about $5 a month on about a $100 utility bill. So many water heaters are set hotter than necessary. Just turning them down 10 degrees can save you some money. And that's something you can look up online. There are YouTube videos that show very simply how to do that. Cleaning filters in your furnace can make your heater more efficient and save you money. Because if you think about it, if an air filter is dirty, then the air cannot pass through it efficiently. So that means that the heating element part of the heater is working a lot, but no air is moving around in your house because of this clogged filter. And the result is a lot of energy used, very little effect on how warm your house is. So even if you feel you can't afford to put in a new filter every few months, you might consider just taking the air filter down and vacuuming it off. This is a very efficient way of keeping it efficient, something that I've done in the past, and I know it works. You can also change out a water-wasting shower head for one that uses less water. So look for one that uses 2.5 gallons per minute or less. You can pick up a 1.6 gallon per minute shower head for about $15, and it will pay for itself in a year. So even if you move out of a rental, you can put the old shower head back up and take your money saver with you. Another thing you can do that can save money is replace old incandescent power-wasting light bulbs with new energy-efficient bulbs, compact fluorescent lights, or CFLs. A lot of people say, well, those cost so much more. There's a higher retail price. But think about it. The CFL can last up to 10 times longer than incandescent bulbs. So this means you'd have to buy 10 incandescents during a single $3 CFL's lifespan. So each CFL saves about $30 during its lifespan, according to the U.S. Energy Star program. They pay for themselves in about 6 months. So they may be a little more expensive at first, but they take less energy and need to be replaced far less. So what does that really add up to if you address just the light bulbs? Well, if you think that it's about $6 every year you can save per light bulb, even in a small 2-bedroom apartment, there's usually about 20 light bulbs. So someone who does this is going to save about $120 a year just from making this one change. One word of caution, of course, these CFLs do contain mercury, so they do need to be disposed of properly. But if they're handled carefully, they're perfectly safe. Okay, now it's time to get a little personal and talk about some behavioral issues. Now, most of these are things that likely we've at least thought of before, but it's good to take stock and think, how am I doing in this regard? And could I make some adjustments that could save me some money? And number one is to simply turn off lights in rooms that are not in use. This still applies even with the new CFL bulbs. You may wonder about the old tales of don't turn off fluorescent bulbs if you're going to be gone from a room for only a few minutes, because they take more power to turn back on. Well, while this used to be true of the larger long bulbs, with the CFLs, from the research I've done, they say stick to the same program that you did with incandescents. You'll save money if you just always turn off the bulb when you leave the room. Using a programmable thermostat is an easy way to change behavior, because if you set it to turn the heat down to 60 when you're sleeping or when you're away at work, this will still keep the pipes from freezing, but it also prevents you from wasting money heating an empty house. And that money can add up quickly. So if you don't have a programmable thermostat and you're not sure how to install one, you could just make it a habit to turn down the heat when you leave or before you go to bed. It's also important to monitor the way you use hot water. Doing your laundry in hot water costs about 50 cents a load. So you might consider with each laundry load, do I need to use hot water to get this clean? Also, leaving water running while you're doing the dishes or setting the dishwasher to the highest setting are pretty big wasters of hot water as well. So try limiting the amount of hot water you use, and you will notice a savings in your monthly bill. Another great tool to use is a smart power strip. Even when they're off today, many of today's electronics continue to draw electricity that we're paying for, but we're not really using, because these electronics are in what is called standby mode. And if you're not sure if the electronics that you have are in this standby mode, a simple way to prove that it is can you use a remote control to turn it on? And if you can, that means that electronic device has to remain in some sort of a low power on position to be able to pick up that signal. So a smart power strip is a revolutionary power strip that can prevent waste. And how it works is you plug your main device, let's say your computer or your TV, whatever the main draw is, into the primary outlet, and then all the peripherals, maybe your printer, your scanner, VCR, DVD player, Blu-ray player, cable box, whatever, into the others. And then high-tech sensors inside that power strip know when you shut down the main device, and then they cut off everything else on that power strip. This can save up to 72% of the energy that your systems use, and it offers state-of-the-art surge protection too. So if you don't want to invest in one of these more expensive smart power strips, just using a normal power strip and turning it off when you turn off your electronics can do the same thing. And if you wonder about, well, how much do these electronics really draw when they're in this standby mode? We used a watt meter recently and determined that just one DVR machine on standby created a constant drain of about 40 watts. So pretty serious draw of power going on 24/7. Imagine just scattering those little 40-watt draws around your house. Would be like having little light bulbs on all the time. So it can add up quickly. What you see here is an energy usage chart, and you can find this chart on the Hope Source Weatherization webpage. We like to show this to people because of how easily you can see, visually represented here, which changes are going to make the biggest difference on your monthly bill. Remember, we talked about making sure that heat doesn't escape your home, and it's very clearly represented here why that's so important, because about half of your energy is spent on heating and cooling alone. And then, of course, the next biggest issue is the water heater. And we talked about how you could turn down your water heater and save some money there. And then comes lighting and electronics. So we already kind of talked about some of the math with lighting, how much money we could save with CFLs. But notice that electronics make up nearly as much of our bill as lighting. So when we stop power leaching by using a smart power strip or some other means, we save 72% of that 7%. Basically, we move the electronics down to just 2% of our monthly bill. So it's a pretty significant savings. The next thing we're going to talk about is saving money on transportation. It's another simple way to make your dollar go further because behind rent and food, it is the third highest expense for most people. So think for a moment, how much money per month would you say you spend on transportation? Now, the bulk of that bill on a monthly basis is probably your gas bill. So what are some things we can do to get that down? One simple thing is to regularly check your tire inflation. Properly inflated tires can save you about 15% at the pump, or about 1.5 gallons of gas between fill-ups. So that's easily over $5 savings for every tank of gas. It's also important to do regular maintenance on your car, changing the oil and the air filter as often as the manufacturer suggests. Because doing this is not only going to make your car last longer, but it will help you maintain the best gas mileage that you can get, depending on the age of your car. In fact, rather than just replacing your air filter with every oil change, you could even choose to purchase a high-performance air filter. And those usually run around $30, and they'll increase the airflow to your engine. It lasts far longer, and you can safely clean it yourself and reuse it for the life of your car. As for cleaning it, you would probably replace between 3 to 5 paper air filters before having to clean your reusable high-performance filter even once. And thanks to the improved airflow, your car will get better gas mileage. Also, remove unneeded weight from your car. If you drove, let's say, 12,000 miles in a year, for every 100 pounds less of weight, you gain 18 gallons of gas per year. So if you do a little math, multiply 18 gallons by the current gas prices, you can save $60, $70, even $80 in a year by just getting some of that weight out of the car. So if it's not winter, take those chains out of the trunk. Another simple thing to do, of course, is fill up when gas is cheaper. Gas prices fluctuate, sometimes drastically, throughout the week. So watch the price at the pump, take note when it's lower, and get in there and get gas. And then, of course, for those who live out of town or even in Upper County, it's good to combine errands into one trip and avoid multiple trips whenever possible. So if you can pay your bills, grocery shop, and then pick up the kids from school all in one trip, you're going to save yourself both in gas and in stress. Another necessary evil when it comes to transportation expenses, of course, is insurance. It's important, first of all, to know what you're paying for. So review your policy from time to time and make sure that everything included in it is actually what you want and need. Sometimes insurance companies try to add services that you may not have agreed to, like identity theft protection or windshield replacement. Your policy can be modified anytime you desire. So one person called up his insurance company to dispute an extra charge, and while he was on the phone, he found out that in his policy he was paying an extra $15 a month for windshield protection, and he didn't even realize it. So he decided he didn't need that, and therefore he saved that much every month from that point on. So think about it. Do you know what you're paying for on your insurance? Because it's possible you could be saving some money too. Another thing some choose to do is to pay in 6-month increments to avoid the monthly transaction fees if possible, because paying month to month does result in a processing fee. So financially, if you can manage that, it's another way to save money. And some insurance companies may give you a discount if you take a defensive driving course. So it's something to investigate first before you do it. But of course, it makes you a better customer for them. And some of them will give you a reduction for doing that. You might consider, too, if you're not already doing it, signing up for electronic statements. This, too, could mean a slight discount on your monthly bill. And then, of course, shop around. Sometimes you can save money with a different company, but be aware that if you are offered a lower price, make sure for the sake of comparison that it is for the same coverage that you already have. And then it would be a good idea to go ahead and talk to your old agent before you make a firm decision, since they might offer some sort of loyalty reward for your staying with them. And that brings us to an issue that we might be the most protective of when it comes to our finances, and that is entertainment. We all need some entertainment now and then, but what are some things that we can do to save a little money in this department? Well, a large part of entertainment nowadays is to dine out. And planning your dining out experience can save you money in the long run. For one thing, many restaurants offer a kids eat free night or a specific time of day. For instance, Old Country Buffet, Denny's, places like this. The savings they offer could be about $5 or more for each child on each visit. So that's something to consider. And some restaurants give very large portions of the dishes that you enjoy. So is it possible that you and another person could just share a plate, split the meal, and save money that way? That's something my wife and I almost always do. Or can you look for coupons? Maybe there are some free coupons online in the phone book or in the mail or circular ads. Sometimes you can save a percentage or even buy one, get one free. Some local restaurants even accept coupons from their competitors. So again, don't be afraid to ask. If, like most human beings on this planet, you happen to enjoy watching movies, there are some things that you can do to save some money there, too. When it comes to going to the theater, it of course makes sense to try to go to the matinee. This will usually save you about $3 per person, and if you have a large family, that can add up pretty quickly. Of course, most people now rent their movies through the mail, as the large chain rental stores have been disappearing. And this is a really good way to save money on your rental. Of course, you need an internet connection, but especially if you have a good internet connection, you may even choose to just get a streaming-only package through something like Netflix. And these usually cost around $10 or less per month, and you can have all the movies and television shows you'd ever want to watch. And then, of course, we have the red box, these kiosks that you'll see around grocery stores and other areas. Certainly can save you a lot of money if you make sure to get the movie back to them. For usually about $1 a movie, you can take it home and keep it for a day. Now, cable TV is one of those things that, since its inception, many people have felt they just couldn't live without. It's how they get all the channels and the shows that they want to watch. But now that we have things like Netflix and DVD, many people are considering maybe cable TV is unnecessarily expensive. In our area, it costs about $80 or more just for expanded basic. So if you examine your bill and you find maybe you're paying for channels and services that really don't matter to you, or that might have been free when you first signed up, you might want to at least drop some of those premium channels, or maybe talk to your cable provider, see if they can drop the price down a little bit to keep you there. Or you could shop around for a better deal, find out what your options are, perhaps satellite TV. Or you could do what many have done, just bail on cable TV altogether. Just let it go and watch regular broadcast television that's now comes in digital for everyone. So there are plenty in our area, plenty of free channels, all the major networks, and altogether we now have about 13 or so local broadcast channels, including at least one movie channel. So there's plenty of things to watch. Now, one thing we would never encourage disposing of altogether is clothing. Our clothes are important, of course. They express who we are as a person, but they can be expensive too. The price for clothing can add up quickly, especially if you have a family and children that are growing like bamboo. Certainly, this is an area that can soak up a lot of our finances. So what can we do to save money on both new and used clothing? An easy way to save money is stick with classic clothes, things that can be mixed and matched to create a number of wardrobe options. It's going to allow you to wear those things until they basically are worn out. Also, if you find a good deal on some item that you really love, that's the time to spend some money, maybe buy more than one. I know myself, I wear a very large shoe, so if I find one and it's on sale, I might buy 2 pairs, so I have one backup for later when the first one wears out. Also, try donating old clothes to friends, and you might find that they'll repay the favor, resulting in a savings for you. So children's clothes, again, are a big expense because children grow out of them quickly. So getting into a clothing exchange with friends and family can save a lot of money in the long run, too. Then, of course, there is my personal favorite, thrift store shopping, especially if you enjoy the thrill of the hunt and you're a somewhat normal-sized person. There's plenty of options to be found at thrift stores for a fraction of the cost of what you might pay in a retail store. So this is a great way to save money and recycle. It's good for your pocketbook, and it's good for the earth. So that just about brings us to the end of our Saving Money workshop. We thank you so much for paying attention, and we hope you'll participate too, that you'll share with us some good ideas that you have. I know we've just scratched the surface of the many ways there are to save money by being a savvy shopper. We have a few tips from our clients that we'd like to end with. Mark told us about Fred Meyer's Senior Discount Day. So anyone over 55 can get a 10% discount off virtually everything in the store on the first Tuesday of every month. Something great to keep in mind if you fall in that age range. Ben suggested check your receipt. Before you leave the store, review your receipt to make sure that all your planning and hard work for saving money has paid off. And do a quick scan to see if any items didn't ring up correctly or any coupons did not get processed properly. Then you're right there at the store to deal with it. Jesse's suggestion is to always shop used first. Whether it's cars, clothes, furniture, whatever it is, seeking out gently used items can save a lot of money in the long run. And finally, Mary tipped us off about the provision of the SafeLink cell phone for low-income families. So if you qualify for energy assistance or food stamps or Medicaid, you most likely qualify for a free SafeLink cell phone. You can check out the details for this at safelinkwireless.com or call 1-800-SAFELINK. Thank you so much for paying attention and participating. And again, if you would like to attend any of the other Hope University classes that we offer, or if you have some money-saving tips of your own that you'd like us to be able to pass on to other clients, feel free to contact us by phone or by email at hopeuniversity@hopesource.us. We're always glad to hear from you. Have a great day.